Last week I was out and about in the Lincolnshire Wolds, which is an area of outstanding natural beauty in eastern England. It is a landscape of rolling chalk hills with lots of little hidden valleys in which nestle tiny hamlets and villages with ancient churches in them. In the 13th century this part of Lincolnshire was heavily populated, but the population has gradually sunk over the centuries due to changes in agricultural practice, and the Wolds are full of deserted villages where people used to live, and they're fascinating to explore. Often only the church survives of a once thriving medieval village, and an example of this is this place called Sutterby, where a little church of Norman origin is really all that's left of the village in this hidden valley. There is only a single farm here now. Many of these small churches on the Lincolnshire Wold, which are made of chalk and green stone and ancient brick, have been lost. And this church itself was nearly lost. It was made redundant in the 1970s, and when I first knew it in the late 80s, it was falling into dereliction. Here's a photograph I took some years ago, pre-digital, of what the interior looked like. As you can see, there is no floor, no pews. The place is damp, as areas of the roof were gone, and the place is boarded up. Then a very admirable charity called the Friends of Friendless Churches came to the rescue, and the church has been restored and is cared for, and it's become the focus of a local project called the Spirit of Sutterby, which is marvellous, for these tiny little church buildings in isolated places still have the power to inspire us in the 21st century. Let me take you on a tour. Let's close the outer gate of the porch, and there's an old illustration by Nats there showing the church as it was in the 18th century, worn and patched. I'm not sure if you can see it, too much light coming through from that grill. Let's open that grill again, and then that's better, you can see it now. Illustration by Nats of the church in the 18th century. Not much dissimilar to how it is now. Patchwork of green stone and chalk and brick, as a lot of Lincolnshire Wolds churches are. Good building stone is a scarcity in these parts. So let's come through and let's come in. Very simple building, 2 cells, nave and chancel. And that's our initial view looking east. I never tire of this place, I really don't. It is absolutely fabulous. The nave and the chancel is divided from the nave by a very simple rood screen, bits of which appear to be old, but I think it's probably mostly 19th century, but that doesn't matter. It's still a fantastic thing. And there's very little in here. All the furnishings have gone for the most part. Even the floor had gone, as I said, 15 years ago, and it's had to be replaced with traditional handmade tiles. Timeless they are too. Bits of the 18th century pulpit survived, and these have been incorporated into a reconstruction. So the door's old, but most of the pulpit is new. Sort of old plaster on the walls. Above the reed screen there is a filled-in tympanum. There's an 18th century flat ceiling here, so part of it's cut off. And you can just see the bottom of the unicorn of the Royal Arms. So the whole of this interior would have been dominated by a huge representation of the Royal Arms over the chancel entrance. Oh, it smells lovely in here. The quality of the light is fantastic. Into the chancel. Again, all very simple here. 19th century altar rails. The original communion table has gone, so it's been replaced with a new 18th century style communion table, which is very lovely. See the different materials here. Greenstone, chalk. Lots of locally produced brick patching as the church has been restored over the years. Let's just come into the corner of the chancel up here in the sanctuary. Some remnants of blue paint on the wall there by the looks of it. Looking west through the reed screen, you can see the sort of lath and plaster tympanum on which the Royal Arms is painted, and then another structural division here with a large timber across and then brick above, which is presumably supporting a gable end of the nave. And all simplicity when you come back into the nave again and look west. No pews. The 17th century window there, through which I took my photograph all those years ago of the interior. Tantalising it was too. So I grew up in this area. I grew up about 10 miles from here. So I know these little valleys really, really well. And they feel like home to me. At least they are, really, back in Lincolnshire again. And it's a late 14th century font. Its 8 sides are decorated with windows with tracery. Some early 14th century style windows there. But then around this side, we've got a late 14th century style window, perpendicular style window, which probably helps us date the font rather. A few more different tracery styles. Rather flamboyant. Some intersecting tracery, some late 14th century panel tracery. Very nice with lobes there, very nice flamboyant tracery. It's a very fine thing indeed. So a very fine thing in a very simple, gorgeous, atmospheric church. This is St John the Baptist in Sutterby in Lincolnshire. Thanks very much for watching. Now, one of the very admirable things that the Friends of Friendless Churches and the Spirit of Sutterby project have done is to replant the churchyard here with native hedgerows. And I found this wonderful crop last year of bullaces. They are midway between a sloe and a damson. They're a soft fruit and they make the most excellent wine. And I've got a couple of gallons of Sutterby Bullis wine on the go at the moment, which should be ready for this winter. So every time I sit by the fire and have a glass of that, I can remember being in this wonderful remote valley in the Wolds. If you like what you see on this channel, please subscribe and share. You can help support my channel at PayPal and the website Buy Me a Coffee. Details are below in the description box and links are on the homepage.